And our first keynote is from the Port of Rotterdam, Joost Nooijer, Port Resilience Director from the Port of Rotterdam. He's going to be talking about the Port of Rotterdam's climate change objectives. Joost has been with us since our inception. He actually flew out with Matthias Bos to do in-person presentations back in 2019. The Port of Rotterdam has taken a leading role in resilience planning and implementation. And I want to thank Joost very much for all of his help over the years and the times I've come to him for advice and information. And Joost Nooijer, good morning from California to you in the Netherlands.
Well, thank you, Stes, for the introduction. I'm very glad to be on this conference again and to speak for the third time, I guess. I think it was on the first in San Francisco, in Oakland.
Yes.
To be specific, and the second also, and yet I think it's the fifth conference, right? So,
yes.
I'm very happy to give a presentation to you all. I work as an engineer at the Port of Rotterdam, designing, construction and constructing quay walls and jetties. But I spent part of my time to our climate change program, and especially flood resilience. Well, in this presentation I will give you, I will guide you through our climate change approach, and I think I have to share my screen. Or
do you want me to do it, Joost?
What you are going to do so?
I can do it, and yeah.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Let me put you in full screen mode.
Thank you. So what you see here is a picture from Maasvlakte 2, the newest developed area by the Port of Rotterdam, on quite a high elevation. Not only the dike at the outer side of the port, but also the inland plots have a high elevation for flood risk. So please proceed to the next slide. I will start with a general introduction of the Port of Rotterdam in the first couple of slides, and after that we together dive into the climate change topic. We can see some facts and figures about our port. Maybe the things to highlight are the amount of barges which are sailing to the port on a yearly basis. They present the importance for the hinterland connection from Rotterdam with, for example, the Ruhrgebiet. And of course, we have an open connection to the sea, and that provides the opportunity to receive a lot of seagoing vessels throughout the year, about 28,000, which is an important thing to keep in long term. Next slide, please. Or in the next slide, we can see the evolvement of the port. The history of our port started in the center of the city, but it outgrew to the west, especially after Second World War. The Botlek, the Vondelingenplaat, and the Europort have been developed, and in the last couple of decades, the Maasvlakte area has been developed. Now, to get an insight in what's happening today, there are a couple of challenges we face. I think, like a lot of ports in the US as well. We could say the last 50 years, the business went quite well in Port of Rotterdam, and the port expanded to the present situation in this slide. And in the next slide, you can see some challenges for our port, and they're both threats and opportunities. You definitely recognize them. It's the slide before. Yeah, this one. If we talk about threats to our port, what we see at the moment is that energy prices are really high. So production has quite a high cost. We have some problems with our electricity network, a lot of congestion, and with an increasing demand and for capacity. So that's something which is important to solve these problems. And a third topic is that permitting has been way more easy in the past than it is right now, due to legislation on noise, on nitrogen deposition, on preservation areas, nature preservation areas, for example. And what we see the last couple of years, what the experience is that especially the chemical industry, for those companies it's quite hard to survive, and some are leaving the port in the last couple of years. So that's something we have to consider. But there are a lot of positive developments as well. We are building new quay walls for container terminals, expansions. Energy transition is a keyword, really a buzzword in our port. We're having investments in methanol LNG bunkering. We are building electrolyzer parks at the moment for hydrogen supply chain in the Maasvlakte area, for example. A lot of wind farms have been developed in the last couple of years. Carbon capture and storage project is going on, and a second will join in a couple of years. So there are lots and lots positive opportunities in our port. That's good to see. And what really helps in such a context is, of course, a political climate and the political environment in which you can make investments like this, and which is supportive to energy transition. And I think we have the Dutch politics behind us in this movement. So that's really helpful. Well, that was a little bit of general introduction in the dynamics we experience right now. In the next slide, we can see what where we're working on, especially in the left hand of this slide, to mitigate the emission of CO2, carbon, and other emissions. I won't go in detail on that topic, but of course on the left hand side there's a topic of our presentation and of our day-to-day. It's more about the impact of climate change and how we can mitigate those impacts. And within the Port of Rotterdam we have done an analysis to find out which kind of issues we face from climate change. We divided into two different subjects: sea level rise and extreme weather, and we came up with in total 26 different issues which could have impact on our port system and our port environment. And in the next slide we can see the major consequences for the port. And we have a strategy for all these 6 different topics. In the next slides of the presentation, I will show our approach to the first 3 topics in the red boxes. And I will not spend a lot of attention to the other ones. Extreme rainfall is really a local problem, and the safe navigation and safe mooring, they have more to do with severe storms and how we react on that. Navigation, and of course also the mooring of ships. But if we see if we look to all those topics, there's a variation in urgency. So some of those topics are really long-term issues. Some of them are urgent right now. There's a division in this, and you can also look at from another perspective to those issues. Some are in our sphere of influence, and some are out of our control. So the way we react to those issues is different. In this slide, we can see more information about this first topic, which is of importance for us as a Port of Rotterdam. We have a strong connection to the hinterland, especially because of the Rhine River. You can see at the right hand of this slide. And if there's a very high discharge, sometimes it's impossible for inland navigation to cross bridges. Simply too high water and too low bridge level, and that's an obstruction for cargo. This doesn't happen so often, but sometimes it's obstructive for inland navigation. What's the major threat of this climate issue is low discharge, of course, and that has to do, and we can have a look at it further on the next slide. It has to do with dry summers, especially. We already experienced it during the summer of 2018 and also in 2022. Where we have seen that there was quite a lot of traffic congestion due to the sudden modal shift because of the low river discharge. A lot of companies move their products along the river, and if the possibility to handle cargo, to transport cargo to the hinterland, is hindered, is obstructed, then they choose for an alternative method, by road, by rail, something like that. And in 2018 we experienced quite an economic loss because of that, with a lot of congestion, because it happened so suddenly. There was no time to start warning the companies. No one was really well prepared. So what we try right now is that we that we have a sort of early warning system in place, that we have a lobby about taking upstream measures, like dredging, for example, or like other distribution of water over the river system. Things like that, which are of major importance for the transport. In this slide we can see the second topic. This is about fresh water supply. There are quite a lot of industries in our port who make use of fresh water, and we really think that the energy transition will increase the number of companies which use fresh water. But of course you can imagine, because of sea level rise, salt intrusion is getting a bigger problem. This is a problem for especially Zeeland. It's the province in the right part of the right hand of the screen, in the upper figure, and mainly because of agricultural reasons. But in our region, there's also a lot of industrial use, and what we try here is to lobby for, again, other upstream distribution of water. As you can imagine, if there's more water through the system in this region than in the northern part of the country, that will help to prevent salt intrusion. And there are also other possibilities, for example, building new inlets to or further distance from the coast to help this. So we are working together with water boards and our industrial water provider for measures here. Then we move on to the next slide with the main topic of today, of course, flood resilience. In the earlier conferences, we discussed a lot about the flood risk adaptation strategies. I won't go through it in detail. There's a lot of information to look up on our website. It's freely available. I have the link in another slide. What we of course it's the all actions we take on this topic is to prevent situations like you see on this picture. I will give you an update on item B to E in the next couple of slides. But to start a little bit on the current situation, we have quite a high elevation. You can see it in the picture at the right hand side of the screen. So there's not a very urgent situation, but for developments in the port right now, this is really an important topic. What is very important for all those discussions, for all slides, is the responsibility for this type of flood damage. In the Netherlands, government is responsible for safety for all areas behind the dikes, for inner dike areas. In outer dike areas, it's the asset owner who takes responsibility for all potential damage due to floodings. There are a lot of asset owners in our outer dike area, of course. So, yeah, it's really a joint responsibility, a joint effort to keep everything safe over here. Of course, we have some barriers in place which protects part of the port system, and that helps. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, the issue we face is, of course, sea level rise. I think, like many ports in the US, we also make use of the sea level rise scenarios from the IPCC and our Dutch National Meteorological Institute provide us with the scenarios, and the actual scenarios for the end of the century are 26 to 124 centimeters sea level rise. That's we use in all spatial planning and all scenarios. Yeah, the next slide shows you an example. Shows us an example of the adaptation strategies. I won't go into detail, there's no time for it, but the key takeaway of this picture is that it has been elaborated with a lot of stakeholders. So governmental organization, a lot of companies, a lot of tenants in the port. There has been a lot of cooperation to set up all those adaptation strategies, and it really created awareness to a lot of companies in the port, helped us to come on the same page with all companies in the port. Yeah, more information. There's a link on the next slide. You can find on our website, which looks like this, and there's also a possibility to have deeper insight in possible and inspiration for possible measures you can take as a company or as a tenant in our port. It's on the left hand of this slide. These adaptation strategies are the basis of our own project management advice. We use those adaptation strategies in our own development projects, and that's on the next slide. Since I think about 5 years, this is an important issue in all our contracts with tenants, and also in all our projects. So all our projects within Port of Rotterdam are assessed and provided with advice about sea level rise, about new development, elevation development. I think already 150 or 160 projects have been provided with an advice for this, and we also have a lot of flood risk measures in place already. In every new contract there are clauses about responsibility for this topic and specific agreements upon physical measures we take or the tenants have to take. On the right hand side of this picture you can see one of the main decisions we have made in the last couple of years. In the yellow areas there are container terminals which will be developed. It's the expansion of the present container terminals, which will be developed at the same elevation as the present terminals are. But the orange area is free area right now. There's a lot of interest. New companies, especially from energy transition projects, want to settle over there, and we already developed this land on an elevation 1 meter higher than it was originally meant. So this is quite a important measure we already have been taken. And on the next couple of slides I have some pictures of other measures we have been taking in the past years. A steel pile wall in the left figure, and in the picture in the right you can see an electricity vital infrastructure electricity house with entrance on a higher level elevation. In the next slide we can see that if we do maintenance work on slopes, it's possible to raise the crown of the slopes and to protect the area behind it. One of our tenants built a small dike themselves in a very wave prone area. It's on the right upper side of this slide, and in the picture down there's a shore power cabinet on a higher elevation. These are sometimes small, sometimes larger examples of measures which we take to prevent impact of flooding. Now we are moving on to the long-term strategies. We are in the regional Delta programma, which uses a strategy for the long term, and this strategy is very favorable for the port. It is based on the present solution of a closable flood barrier. The connection is always open, which is very favorable for seagoing vessels, of course. It will only close when a storm or high water is approaching. And we will go on with this strategy towards the end of the century, till the end of lifetime of these assets, but maybe also till the frequency of closure has increased too much. And of course, due to sea level rise, this frequency will close more often. And now it does once every 3 years. That will be way more often till the end of the century due to sea level rise. So what we do right now, together with the Delta Programma partners, which are governmental organizations, that we together with engineering companies and universities, we do a lot of research to the limits of the present strategy. And also, what you can see in the next slide, we look to the far future. For example, when we meet 2 meter sea level rise, to change to a completely other system. Of course, we as Port of Rotterdam are not very, we like to have an open connection. I don't know if it's possible in the long term, but you can think about systems which use locks to prevent water coming in, to prevent flooding, maybe natural solutions. And again, I'm not going to detail, there's no time for it, but there are different solutions to cope with this. What we do right now is a lot of research, no decision making yet. It needs a lot more time to make decisions about this topic. But in a couple of decades, we expect to do so together with all governmental organizations. And of course, we have to take a lot of criteria and issues into account. You can see them on the next slide. There are only the issues for the Port of Rotterdam. There are way more, of course, many stakeholders with system definitions like this. In the next slide, we can see another topic of research we're working on at the moment, and that is the question if our own strategies can cope with 2 meter sea level rise. And in this picture, especially at the bottom of the picture, you can see two flood maps with scenarios without any measures in it. So that's important to know. They're quite blue. They have a probability of flooding in 1 in 1,000 years with 1 meter sea level rise. ZSS is sea level rise. And the other one is 2 meters sea level rise. And we're investigating, and that's something we elaborate together with Matthijs, the next speaker on this conference, if it's possible to cope with 2 meter sea level rise with our present adaptation strategies. I think the answer will be that this is possible, but the tipping point won't be very far away. A little bit more than 2 meters. Then the last slide is about the main challenges I consider as a main challenge. We've discussed that we integrated our adaptation strategies in our advices to projects. Flood risk management is really integrated in our project management. What we really would like to is that our tenants do exactly the same, and that our policies in every company, working procedures, how to deal with sea level rise if there are new developments. They have to take flood risk management, flood resilience into account, and that needs a lot of communication. That needs a lot of missionary work we will do in the next couple of years, and maybe we even need law legislation for this. I don't know yet, but this is the work we stand for. And a little bit related to that is how we are going to organize this topic in the long term. Right now, it's much of it. It's not very urgent, own responsibility. We have drawn some inspiration from the port of Hamburg, in which they have founded polders, all those yellow areas in the map at the right hand of the slide. And in the polders, the companies themselves are protecting themselves to flood events. And it's another situation, another type of urgency, but for the long term, this could be an inspiring model for us as well. So we're doing a pilot project in one of our port areas right now to find out if companies are willing to participate in an organization like this, and if they are, if they think that's a good solution. So a lot of work to do on this topic, a lot of strategies in place. We're happy with that. We now move to the final slide, our goal is of course to be safe right now already, but also in the future. Well, thanks for your attention, and thanks again for the invitation, Stes. And if any questions, you're very welcome, of course.
Joost, thank you very much for this. And let me ask you a couple of questions. Number one, on the implementation right now, have you, the plans that you outlined 5 years ago, have those plans been implemented by the port and the tenants?
Yeah, we implemented all those plans ourselves. So for the port, the answer is yes. And for tenants, I think a lot of them are aware. We had a lot of workshops with stakeholders, with tenants, and a lot of them take this into account right now, but maybe not all of them. And that's the missionary work we have to proceed. And yeah, of course, what our goal is that every company in our port works with these adaptation strategies. And
so
on the long run,
follow-up to that, Joost, is if somebody doesn't implement what they're supposed to do, does that create a flood risk for everybody else?
Yeah, there's a possibility. You're completely right. So that's the weakness of the system, of course, and it's our goal that this is not going to happen. So what you see is that most of the companies are aware of the risk and are also willing to take measures, because this is a topic they also see and experience in media, on television, on everywhere. So they're willing to take measures. Not and the best way to take measures is to take them as part of a development, and that's the strength of our adaptation strategies, that are really adaptation strategies, that you can take the measures as part of a project. For example, if you're building a new $1 billion storage facility, then it's only costs not even 1% of the money to take flood measures, and that's the moment to invest on this topic. And our advantage is that this is not an urgent problem, but if we are consistent in taking measures like this, we'll stay safe.
And the second question is cost. If are you satisfied that at least in terms of the 1 meter rise, that you've got all your ducks in order, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm quite certain about that. What you see regarding to costs is that the costs are spent as part of the project, so then it's not a real problem, and the damage you the added value of it is that you have no damage during a flood. And well, from cost benefit perspective, this is always a positive business case.
So your tenants are, for the most part, making that investment up front, correct?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of discussions with them.
Okay.
No, they're following our advices, and no, it's going quite well.
So from an American standpoint, I think many Americans, especially ports, will be intrigued, maybe even alarmed by the fact that you're making plans for a 2 meter rise. And that puts you in a whole other situation. When you look at your map right now, can you give us areas of vulnerability that 2 meters might project for you?
I think the maps which were on the screen were not that are maps. These are maps without any measures. So if we are going to take measures, the damage because of those floodings will be way less. We think that the adaptation strategies can go up to 2 meters sea level rise. However, there are certain areas in the port which already need a change in the way of development. Maybe have to be elevated, integrally and elevated, for example. But we are speaking about maybe 100 or 150 years. So there's also, we also think that in this period there will be opportunities to take measures like this. Companies are leaving, other companies are coming in, and especially at these moments you can take measures.
And final question, saltwater intrusion. We have a lot of saltwater intrusion in the Gulf, on the East Coast, and to a lesser extent on the West Coast. It's been suggested that desalination plants could pump water back into the water table to retard the saltwater intrusion. What kind of strategies have you been looking at for that?
I think this is meant as one of the options also. Well, I think there are a lot of physical measures you can take, but yeah, if it's not enough to provide all companies with fresh water, this could be a good solution, the desalination plant, of course, but it's very costly.
Yeah.
What we use the Brielse Meer Lake, that's how it's called, for fresh water. And I think for the upcoming century, it's also possible to build another inlet, for example, to fill this Brielse Lake, which will help a lot already. So I think measures like desalination plants are quite heavy compared to what's necessary over here. Okay. And what's also a good measure to take on this issue is another distribution from river discharges, more upstream. But of course, that has some disadvantages in other parts of the Netherlands. So yeah, that's quite a difficult discussion. Yeah.
Okay. We've got about 2 minutes. Does anybody have questions for Joost? Going once?
Hey, Stas?
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Hey, and I'll admit I'm multitasking, got a lot going on, but I was really interested in that presentation. I see a lot of similarities with things happening in the Gulf. So my question would be simply, is this presentation available? Because, or maybe as a moderator, Stas, you can help put the three of us in touch with each other to further this conversation, compare some of the challenges we see, because I found a lot of this relevant to what we're seeing on the big river in mighty Mississippi.
Absolutely, Sean. And I'm sure Joost, Sean is down in New Orleans. He heads the Big River Coalition. He's been involved with all of the issues on a regional level, not just on a local level. So maybe if we could figure out a way to schedule that, to maybe do a meeting in the next week or two, maybe after Thanksgiving.
No problem at all, of course, Sean. Let's have this discussion. You're welcome.
Appreciate that. I'm supposed to not be listening, but your topics made me tune in. So well done. Look forward to collaborating. Sorry for taking the airtime, Stas.
No, that's okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Hey, Stas, I just wanted to ask a quick question. This is Russ Walsh. I'm here in Silicon Valley, and as I mentioned in the intro, I did some sea level rise research while I was at GE a couple of years ago, and we're getting some making progress on the concept of what if we could redirect the oceans and kind of impact the ability for sea level rise, and essentially, could we stop it by building inland seas and capturing water in other places around the world? We're exploring that with quite a few companies and some of the academia here in the Bay Area as well. Right now, we're getting pretty positive responses, but has that been considered used by any one of the folks in Europe that you're working with? Are y'all considering that notion? Is anybody researching that we could work with?
From Port of Rotterdam perspective, this is a little bit out of our region, of course. But I know there has been done research on measures like this.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Stas.
Sure. One more question. Anybody got a question for Joost? Going once, twice. Okay. Joost, thank you very much. We'll schedule a follow-up with Sean. Appreciate your presentation, and thank you very much. I know it's late for you too, so our best wishes, and we will hear from you soon.
Thank you, Stas, and have a joyful conference.
Okay, thank you.
To everyone.
Thank you.